Hello, my name is Raymond Karczewski, and this is coming to you from my home here in Cave Junction, Oregon. Tonight's subject is truth, the nature of God. I am the truth, life, and the way. Such a statement was made some 2,000 years ago by a Christ, a simple man of truth. It was made by a man who many today question to have ever existed. What is unmistakable, however, is the myth surrounding such an entity, spread by the very institutions of worldly power which were threatened by his very existence, his truth, and, according to myth, destroyed him, then turned around and promoted a religion in his name based in satanic mind control, which subsequently formed the intellectual illusions of countless men and women who were able to doubt themselves and consent to their own enslavement to an organized system called religion. The man of Christ consciousness is the true man, not the typically, partially conditioned, mind-controlled, blind-believing civilized man who has been reduced to worshipping fictions created by other men who are bent upon acquiring and exercising worldly power over others. It is a system of thought which has emasculated those who have been made to doubt themselves, who have been subjugated and enslaved by their own consensual beliefs. In other words, you, the typical Christian. Did this statement upset you? Were your feelings hurt? Didn't it act to cause a reaction within you? You see, I just spoke the unadulterated truth to you, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it when truth is introduced to your present conditioned intellects, but for you to respond with blind reaction to the upset which you experienced by such self-imagined slights. I touched you where you live, at the core of your being, well beyond your superficial intellect. For you live your lives in your own security cocoon of satanically imposed illusions. You have sold your souls for the promise of security by the corrupt and exploitive systems of government and religion that have become your masters, institutions where you worship and reward those who pander to you and manipulate you through such illusions, while you hate those who point out these illusions to you. In other words, you folks have chosen to live in a BASSACKWARD world of graven images, of dead concepts which allow you to imagine that you are alive even whilst you remain dead in consciousness. How many of you consider yourselves to be aware beings, capable of direct perception of non-dualistic truth, manifesting in the eternal moment of now? On the other hand, how many of you are guided by your fictional consciousness of after-moment, memory-based, dualistic ideas, concepts, and thoughts adhered to, and which make up the core of your very limited intellect, your unhealthy egos. Life itself is the environment in which the soul comes to understand thyself and resurrect the divine intelligence which eternally exists, but is buried under cluttering mounds of satanic beliefs which dictate a dark and conflicted existence by satanically directed, self-contradicting entities who are so foolish as to give up their sovereignty to the mesmerizing, seductive, hypnotic satanic forces, or spell-bound empty promises of security, while supporting and contributing to their own spiritual and physical slavery. All such slaves are but spiritual children. The purpose of life is for these spiritual children to grow up, to understand who they truly are. It is seen as a tough, arduous, painful, and inevitable process, but grow up spiritually they must. In this lifetime, this Christ was father to 3 children. In their formative years, I led by example, not programming. I allowed them the freedom to make their own choices, which led to mistakes, and learn by them, that is, if they were so inclined. All 3 children, however, succumbed to the popular conditioning of the world through school and their personal contact with other conditioned children and self-imagined authorities. The systems they were exposed to fed their childish egos and rewarded their incessant need for positive reinforcement of their actions, because no matter what they did, they remained unsure of themselves and wound up habitually compensating for their programmable insecurities. Thus, they followed the garden path which was laid out for them by the seducers of souls. They are all in their 50s now. Their report cards are in. Subject to their consensual insecurities, 3 separate, distinct paths were set upon. One path led to the life of a Harvard graduate, now practicing law. Another path led to a life of homelessness and helplessness. And a third, to one who was the most rebellious of the 3, growing in understanding herself and facing the world by struggling against the conditioning which has forged such chains of doubt, designed to keep one a spiritual child and perpetually dependent upon authority. The world will wonder why such divergent paths were embarked upon within just one family, especially one led by a simple man of truth, a Christ. If looking a little closer, however, with clear eyes, they will see the Harvard path and the homeless path as pretty much the same when the superficial, illusory attractions are seen for what they are and removed. The Harvard path is a highly honed intellectual path, nurtured in an equally highly but protective satanic environment of ideas and concepts, but lacking in common sense, in street sense, in the wisdom gained in living in the real world. It is the protective environment indicative of that which children have become habituated to, and is designed to perpetuate a dependency upon that of illusory authority. Such an environment is a destroyer of souls. The homeless path is a brutal one, to be sure. It causes in one the abandonment of will, and is the fate of those who have been spiritually crippled in looking for outside sources to care for their security needs that only they themselves can provide. These two outcomes appear to be opposites, but are not. I share this personal information with all because truth demands it. In spiritual essence, we are all one. It follows, therefore, that in truth, we are all on our own. We are the only saviors that you will ever know. Forget the myths which bind your consciousness, and let us get on with it. Mankind is presently under assault by the New World Order. A program of genocide is underway, and only possible with the consent of a legion of satanically mind-controlled spiritual ignoramuses. Your fate lies in your own hands. You are not a victim unless you will yourself to be.